Welcome back to the program. Let's go to Labrador on line number 5. Good morning, Jim Learning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy. How are you?
I'm fine this morning, sir. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Sun is shining. Can't beat it.
Yeah, that's good news. It's actually starting to break through a little bit here in town, too, so I'll take it.
Okay, that's the weather forecast. I want to talk about the not-so-good study on the methylmercury flowing from the Hamilton River Valley into Lake Melville, where Nellcor clearly stated at the beginning that there would be no downstream effect. In other words, the methylmercury was going to go straight up and the water could just carry on. Well, they've proven that that is not going to be the case, as you would expect. Like convenient truths from Nellcor, how many of those have we heard? Whether it's the Noah spur or methylmercury downstream, are we just supposed to keep swallowing these damn lies? And I got to say damn lies because that's what they are. When you haven't done any science and you make a statement, that's got to be a lie.
I have an article, and I'm sure you've read the same one, and it's saying that the biggest danger for these northern climates is hydroelectric dams and the flooding that occurs to provide the flow of water. It's worse than climate change. And I'm reading this study that the Nazi government hired this woman, Elsie Sunderland, to do some of the research based on the effect of methylmercury starting in Lake Melville, I think 2011, 2012, and all the way down. So I'm trying to read through it. It's quite dense, but I have it.
Yes, it's involved, but the point is that initially Nellcor just dismissed this problem as if it meant nothing. That's the point, isn't it? Okay. No matter what the numbers are, at the end of the day, the point is they're a bunch of damn liars by putting that stuff out there in such a blatant way. Just like building the North Spur, putting the foundation on top of the house and saying nothing's going to happen down below. We know that's wrong, and people like Jim Gordon, the esteemed dam builder, and looked at Muskrat Falls and said this just not on, and the fact that Nellcor is going to do this, Canada would be watching, meaning that it's going to turn into another Newfie joke. That's terrible. But nevertheless, they're charging straight ahead to do it. What has got everybody hogtied in that government and on that island that says no minds can be changed if certain ex-people make a decision? What is that? Is it a culture of fear? What is it?
Well, I don't know. I can't answer because I'm not fearful of any of it. But, Jim, let me ask you this question, because the politics of Muskrat Falls is what has governed the project from its introduction to today. So when we've had conversations about business models and letting of contracts and oversight and federal loan guarantee, other than the Joint Review Panel, and very scant reference to any of the environmental issues, it has been so far down the priority list of discussions and negativity and political opposition to it, it barely has made a ripple on the meter. That'd be my take on it. And how about yours?
Oh, absolutely. The question is, why? Why is that happening?
I don't know why.
Well, of course, a big part of it, I say, is the politics of the island has been for the last 500 years totally, say, colonial-driven. And I know you don't like that statement, but look at the evidence around it. Politicians hand us our asses on a platter to give us jobs, so-called. There's a bit of there's a blackmail factor in that. And it certainly plays to the convenience of what would be the St. John's Board of Trade, but more so not to blame them totally, because we as citizens of this province, of this territory and that island, we have a responsibility to stand up and be aware of what they're doing to us, for us, and whatever else, don't we?
Well, I think you're right, and it's easy enough to blame the business groups, certainly easy enough to blame the politicians, but the prospect of jobs, there's been an awful lot of projects given a green light around here, and not just necessarily Muskrat Falls, when the job numbers, when we're talking about a 57-year debt to repay the capital, and an awful lot of jobs have come in here because governments felt the need and the pressure of the voter to go ahead and commit to a large-scale project, and no one can deny that. So I don't know if it's strictly a politician's problem or the politics of fear. I think many of us have played an active role in seeking and yearning for a job, and when one came along, whether it was building a rubber boot and or a ship or a hydroelectric dam, these things have been very easily sold.
Well, exactly right, and that made us that takes away our responsibility when we do stuff like this. I know it's easy for me where I sit because I have an independent income that depends on nothing or nobody. I'm retired. I can say whatever I like, which I don't do. But there's a responsibility to the environment that this is unsustainable. And yes, trying to allowing the politicians to hand us that stuff without taking the responsibility and realizing that down the road, the F-150s, the Skidoos, the ATVs, and everything else will become the destruction of this environment.
Jim, now that we are at the stage we are at Muskrat Falls, forget business model and everything else, simply an environmental sensitivity question. Given where we are today, have we reached the breaking point where there's no turning back, or is there still a way to do away with any of the danger that is whether Lake Millville present already or any downstream effects from hydro, or is the cutting and the trimming of the natural habitat already led to some of the inevitable problems?
Of course, that depends on who you read. And right from the Pope's encyclical to everybody else I've read, we can pull it back, but we are at the tipping point. So, and we're not going to pull it back because the way the mass hysteria runs with the average person, it's like, I want that, and they go for that, and then the whole thing caves in. Then reality sets in, and they try to save themselves after the fact. That's the way we are. We're like lemmings. We're going over the cliff no matter what. So it doesn't matter. I mean, but we should nevertheless, we should drag our heels and try to stop this thing. Look, what have I done here? You know, I've stuck myself way out there, which I never do in real life, and pushed back, shot my mouth off in every direction. For that alone, just to try to make feel that I fought. Though I knew I was never going to win, but at least you have to fight, and that is our ultimate responsibility, is to try to push back, even though we might lose.
You're always welcome to do it on this program, Jim. I always appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
All the best. Take care. Bye-bye. Jim Learning calling regarding in particular, the environmental issues stemming from hydroelectric developments, and particularly at Muskrat Falls. The research paper that I'm trying to make my way through is, as Mr. Learning actually says, it's involved, but it's manageable. And this was commissioned by the Nunavut government as opposed to our own government and or Nalcor, and it wasn't even present at the time of the Joint Reviews panel and assessment, even though they requested and required far more environmental work and research to be done before green lights. But of course, a lot of what went down in that Joint Review panel hasn't seen the light of day.